So, welcome to the Vir Podcast. Today we have a couple of superstars in with us. Well, not with us. My sidekick's gone. So now it's just me. A couple of little badasses here to join us. This is Genesis, and this is Shyanne. So I wanted you guys to come in today because you're coming up literally right around the corner on your 1-year anniversary of being here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just talk about that 1-year experience. I wanted to hear from you guys on, walking through the door on the first day and to be sitting where you're at today. Like, how was it? So let's start out with this. Let's start out with day one. Shyanne, go ahead. Either one, you just jump in whenever you want. So day one, when you walked in the door, I don't know if it was for an interview or if it was for training or.
Yeah, we both came in same day, same time for an interview. We actually got interviewed together.
Where did you hear about?
On Indeed.
Oh, on Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were both working at Amazon before. We were part-time or seasonal, so I'm pretty sure
What's a seasonal worker? You just work like the holidays?
Pretty much, and they just let you go.
Yeah, basically they told us that they could give us 3 days notice and we wouldn't have a job anymore. So we were like, well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, we're just going to go ahead and look for a more secure job. And so she went on Indeed. She actually found the job first. She found the job first and immediately heard back from you guys. And so I was like, okay, well then I'll probably hear back from them too. So at least we have another job while we're waiting for other possibilities, right?
Okay.
Because you guys were the only ones that actually got back to us in time. And so we ended up, getting the interview on the same day, same time. We got interviewed together.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty easy. I mean, we only had one car, so we were working together. Training, I'm going to be honest. When I first walked in here, for training, it didn't really click that it was like a door-to-door, sales job. It didn't click until day one.
You didn't register that in the interview?
No, not at all. And so I walked in and I was like, okay, what'd I get myself into?
Okay.
But, I mean, I was still open to it. Going through the training, it was very, educational.
Who did your training?
You.
Oh, okay.
I
did.
you trained us.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there was, a class of, there was, 5 of us?
No, there were 4.
4?
Okay.
Yeah, there were 4 of us. It was us 2 and then, 2 other guys. And obviously, we're the only ones from our class.
And we did the full binder, the whole 2-day, 3-day deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think one guy left the second day. And then the other guy, he was here for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And then he left too.
Couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't cut it. All right.
But
I'm pretty sure the day that we, the first day that we were trained, we went home and we sat on the bed and I was like, are we really going to do this? Because both of us are really, both of us aren't really that.
Because day one of training is pretty straightforward in your face, right?
Yeah,
It's
intense.
hey, we're going through the door approach and here's what it sounds like and here's what we do, right? It's straightforward. And you got to come back the second day.
And you already know
and
it.
you got to know the door approach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but it was cool. It was very direct and very fast-paced. And I think we got the hang of it pretty quickly.
yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. Who did you train with out in the field?
Jackson. Well, I trained with Jackson the first day.
I trained with Amari the first day, and then we both trained with Jackson our second day.
No, Amari our second day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jackson had...
he wouldn't stop playing Taylor Swift. I remember now.
Amari?
Yeah.
All right. So first day, you were both with Jackson?
No, I was with Amari, she was with Jackson.
Okay, so you guys were with somebody different first day. Second day, same thing? You were separate?
No, second day we were both with Amari.
Both with Amari?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first day training with Jackson, it was exactly like the training. Very straightforward. He's very, blunt with his customers, very upfront,
right.
Just explains the program and see if they're interested. He's very straightforward, and then he transitions into the house, right?
Yep.
And so I basically acted like a sponge. Like, he kept saying, like, you got to be a sponge on the door. You really need to, like, soak up all of this.
Yeah.
So when you're out on, like, by yourself, you'll be able to, like, kind of navigate it, right?
Right.
And get the hang of it. And so I was like, okay, I got you. Like, I'll soak everything up. And so I was just watching him constantly, like, over and over again. And his door approach was pretty much, like, the same kind of for every single door, like the basics.
100%.
And so I was like, okay, so I can do that pretty easy. So I just kind of mimicked him on the door.
Yeah. So was your experience that the classroom training that you went through, you saw that training implemented on the door?
100%.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. And we did run into some, like, circumstances with, like, customers who were kind of aggressive or, like, angry at first.
Yeah.
Like, didn't know why we were knocking at their door. And so I really learned a lot because he was able to talk to them and kind of, like, de-escalate the situation to where they'd be actually be able to be more calm and, like, understand, you know, why we're there to talk to them, what we could, you know, what we could do for them, basically. So I learned a lot with speaking with people and like in different situations.
So how has that changed your life?
Honestly, like, I'm able to speak my opinion more often. Like, it's helped me, like, how do I put it? It's helped me
have a voice.
Yeah, have a voice. So, like, even in my day-to-day life, like, I'm not afraid to be like, well, this is what I think, even though you think something differently, you know? Like, it's helped me in that way, but also mainly in work, just because, you know, you get a bunch of different personalities on the door.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to know, like, who you're speaking to, how to approach them, because everyone's different, right? So it's helped me a lot with figuring out, like, how I need to approach someone so I can make them feel comfortable, you know, in their own home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How about you?
Honestly, I really liked watching both Jackson and Amari because they had very different approaches. I noticed right off the bat. Jackson was, he was very blunt. He was straightforward with people, and, like, his clients loved that about him. And Amari was a lot more, like, laid back. He was very, like,
So are you saying, does Amari not follow the classroom training?
No, he does. It's just like...
So they both do, but with different styles.
Yeah, with different, like, they like, circle it around their personality. And so it comes off very authentic. And I think, like, both of their customers, like, really appreciate that. Like, because they know that they're having a real conversation with somebody else. It's not just like I'm a robot employee at the door trying to sell you solar. So it was very interesting to see, like, that even though the pitch is the same at, like, every door, you do have different customers, and there's also different people knocking at your door. So, like, me knocking versus Shyanne knocking, it can be different while still holding the same, like, basic educational information that we're trying to get across to people.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so that's your first week? That was what you guys went through?
Yeah.
Right? So how was your first month?
It was great.
How was your first month? It was
great. It was great.
Okay.
Our first month was amazing.
I'm pretty sure when we first started...
Because you were just openers, right?
Yeah, or for the first 2 weeks, actually. It took us 2 weeks to start closure training, which I was very happy with because I wanted to get... That's pretty quick,
by the way. That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, as you've seen, you know, it takes a month or two before people get qualified in to start closer training. So that was quick.
I think what helped us in the beginning, like one of the reasons why we were so successful in our first month or our first 3 months of working for Vir is because we were very determined. We were both living with my parents at the time. Yeah. You know, and so we just really wanted our own space, our own apartment. You know, we're both becoming, you know, adults and everything. Yeah. And we just wanted to be on our own, right? And so that
you need money to do that.
Yeah, of course. So that really motivated us as well because, you know, when you're a closer, obviously you get the opener and closer pay, right? You're not, like, dividing it with the closer, right? Yeah. And so we were just mainly focused on that. And so we were just determined on getting those opens as soon as possible so we could focus on closing, and so we could actually like, save up that money so we could move out and get our own space.
Yeah.
So that's what really helped me.
I think the standard was like you get 3 opens, and then we could start closer training. But 3 of ours fell on the same day, and so Jackson closed all of our deals, and we ended up closing like about 6 before we actually
before you started the training.
Closing, yeah. And that was also like kind of a learning curve for both of us because we were trying different things in terms of like knocking on the doors, like her going up by herself, me going up by myself, or both of us going up together. And I think like we really found like what our strengths were during that like first like 2 months or so, because she didn't want to do closer training. And like me, whenever Jackson closed all our deals, I recorded every single one, and I was watching him, and I was like really trying to understand what he was explaining to the customer.
Yeah.
And so when we did closer training, we decided that I was going to do it. And so I think we were talking about this like the other day. Like I think one of the biggest things that like we owe our success to is the fact that we watched Jackson so closely, because like her opens and her like talking at the door. Obviously, it's not exactly like Jackson's because of his personality, but in terms of like the information and like what we tend to focus on, her opens like very closely mimic Jackson's, and my closes, because I recorded them, they were almost like word for word Jackson's, and like I mean he's good at what he does. Absolutely. So 100% like that definitely helped us get a little bit of like lead in the game and trying to set ourselves up. And after only being openers for like 2 weeks, so.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so in that first month, what was your what income did you bring in that first month? Do you guys remember? Because you had 6. How many did you get?
10.
You did 10 the first month.
Yeah, because we worked for 3 months last year before we went on vacation at the end of the year, and we made around $30,000. So it was about 10 every month.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had 6 opens the first month, and we became closers the last 2 weeks of that month. I think we ended up closing like 4, right?
Something like that.
Something like that. Nice. We ended up with around $10,000.
That's great.
Which was insane because
I don't think we had ever had more than like $1,000 in our savings, and suddenly we had 10, and I was like, oh okay.
Yeah.
So you guys went on vacation. When did you go on vacation?
I think mid-November. To be honest, I don't think we worked all of November.
Mid-November?
Yeah. Because I remember November, it got kind of hard because of the temperature change. And, I think at that time, we had also just moved.
I remember that.
We moved in October.
Yeah.
We got our apartment.
And I think I may have had a conversation with you guys. What did I say? Like, I think I may have threatened you guys to get moved out.
Oh, like move out or you're fired or something? Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
probably.
I literally remember you guys being...
We had a lot of circumstances come up.
Well, it wasn't even... it was circumstances, but also you were scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a fear that was behind the two of you taking that step and taking that independence.
100%.
And from what I saw 2 badass chicks who were handling things and were going to continue to grow. And it was like, I saw like, oh, they shouldn't be afraid of anything. They shouldn't be afraid of anything. Mm. And yeah, that process was pretty awesome. And everybody kind of rallied around with you guys and supported you in that.
Yeah, it was fun. We moved into our apartment and in like 5 hours because all the boys came and they took your truck actually, and they pulled up to the front of her parents' apartment and like
let's go.
Yeah, just packed everything in, like just threw it in the truck, and we went. And I don't think we had power at the apartment that particular day, so we ended up going to Jackson's and all like celebrating together.
That's great.
It was fun.
And to think now, like a year later, I mean, not even a year later since that, you're looking at buying in an apartment building and living in one and renting out the others. Like, that's just a huge step to come in a year. And you guys have thrown down some pretty big goals. You've won some competitions. You've won some contests. You've been rep of the month. How many times this year?
Twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
Twice already this year. And I wanted you guys here just because I think a lot of people have an image of what they think a successful door-to-door salesperson is, right? They have this image. Oh, well, I'm not that. And I've heard them talk about it. Oh, this is who we want to hire. We want to hire these guys who are in their mid-20s and they're men and they work out at the gym and their hair is perfect and their foreheads are shiny. You know what I'm saying? Like they have this image of these guys, and you know, I just don't buy into that. You two girls, I put you two girls up at any of those fucking guys any day. Like I just would. And you guys, I look at the two of you, you're both beautiful women. You're tiny, petite, you're non-threatening, you're all these things, and you're badass. You work your ass off. You know the program. You're continuously learning. So you never walk around in a space where you know everything. You're constantly asking questions. You're constantly learning. And when you're in that zone, I'll put anybody up against. I'll put you up against anybody. I don't give a shit. So, and to see what you've accomplished is massive. It's just big. It's big. Like, who are you? Who are you today compared to a year ago? Like, who are you? Like, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see that's different?
Much more confident.
Yeah, a lot more confidence. For me, like I'm more comfortable with myself. So I have anxiety, and so like when I first started this job with like, you know, speaking to people, like different people every single day, knocking on their door, I took it as being very confrontational, and so I was like really nervous about it. But like with this job, with the repetition, because of like how the training went and how well I was trained and how I was able to basically overcome that and actually speak to people, I've gained a lot of confidence, and like I'm more comfortable with myself when speaking to people. And it's also affected like my personal life as well, you know, just like relationships, things like that. Communication is what I'm trying to say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and also you guys both completed the leadership program at Choice too. Mm-hmm. How did that change your life?
Oh, that completely changed everything that we were doing, I think. I took it in November of last year.
And you started January?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, like that was right when we went on vacation. So like I didn't necessarily have to worry about like splitting my time with like work versus the program until we came back.
Hang on, let's clear something up too. Like, so we talk about like people listening to this are like, oh, I went on vacation. They're thinking I went on vacation for a week. So when she says that she went on vacation in mid-November, we didn't even start work until
like the second
week of January. So she was off for 2 months. That was a 2-month vacation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's a 2-month vacation. Okay?
Yeah, and like I was going through the program, and it was interesting, like to be able to have the time, first off, to actually like go through the entire program, and like all of the learnings that we had, like it helped me like change who I was being every day, like not just at work, but also in my day-to-day life, like how I was showing up to people and how
Absolutely.
I was, you know, how I was being with other people. And I realized how important that was and how valuable it was to like be aware of what it is that I'm like feeling or doing, because that awareness ultimately like is what helped us, I know, like actually accomplish the goals that we were like putting out there. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, say that I'm gonna do this and then like fuck off for like 2 months. You know, it was
right.
Like it was actually like being able to hold ourselves accountable to whatever it is that we said we were gonna do, and I think that very much contributed to our like success at the very beginning of this year, because like we hit the year off very well.
Absolutely. You guys came out of the gates hot. Came out of the gates hot.
We did.
So do you notice a trend of where the leadership program from Choice that you learned runs simultaneously with the training that happens here?
Oh yeah, 100%. I came back, and like the meeting, that like the language that is used here in the meetings, I always thought it was very unique. But it wasn't until after I came back from like Choice that I was like, hey, like you guys, like this is something that you're doing every day. And that's another thing, is like being in this job and being surrounded by all these people that have gone through the leadership program already. It makes it that much easier to stay in the mindset that I was in during the leadership program. So it's not just, you know, I did the program and like I'm, you know, back to my normal life.
Yeah.
It's like I'm constantly practicing what it is that I learned, and, you know, what it is that I'm doing in my day-to-day life.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of the main reasons why that I push so many people to enroll into the Choice Center Leadership, is because that life works. It works. As long as you're living what you learn, then your life works, and the lives of people around you works. So, yeah, I'm always going to push people to go. I mean, you know, till they put me 6 feet under, I'm going to keep pushing people to go to Choice or Leadership, just because it's awesome. So let's talk about some monies. Okay, I like to talk about monies. So. What you guys have done has been pretty impressive. So we're beginning of July. So we're halfway through the year, you know, January through June. So we're halfway through the year. The interesting thing that people have to understand too and know is that of that 6 months, you guys have only worked 4. So I was looking at the calendar yesterday.
Technically 3.
Yeah, we only worked 3 months.
Well, me 3. Her 4.
It was 4. But, I mean, there were a lot of times off because you were dealing with some stuff, but then there was 2 months where you guys were not working. Mm-hmm. So, Genesis, you had some health issues.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe you can give us a little shot. Give us a little shot of that wrist, because it's gangster. Oh my God. So...
she got bit by a shark.
She got bit by a shark when we were in the Dominican.
I wish.
Just kidding. So she had some surgery stuff with her arm. So, you know, the 2 of them were out for 2 months. But I just think it's so impressive that in the 4 months that you guys have worked this year, you're already income-wise of how much?
Around $94,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $94,000 in 4 months. Mm-hmm. Are you guys still planning on dipping out halfway through November, or are you going to go to Thanksgiving?
That depends. I think right now we've gotten our rhythm back a little bit as to how it is like we're doing and the goal and the goals you want to create, right? Yeah. And so I think depending on if we reach our goal of 200 by the beginning of November will depend, or that will basically like determine whether or not we actually work the whole
So that's
month.
your goal for the year is 200,000.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's happening. I already know that's happening, and I think that could happen by September, October.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the best 2 months coming up, right? July and August.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. How do you feel about that when a year ago you're working at a warehouse for Amazon, and a year later you're talking about making $200,000 in basically 8 months of working? Like, how does that wrap around your head? Like, do you realize, I mean, I know you girls are young, but do you realize how fucking huge that is? Like, has it hit home with you?
Yeah, I think so. Like, but it's hit home like multiple times. Like it keeps hitting.
Yeah, like we forget about it. We're just like having fun, making money, you know, because we're young. We get to like spend it and like have a good time with it, right? Like going on vacations, doing little things together. But yeah, like she said, like it hits us sometimes where we're like, wow, we're only 19 and 20 years old and we're making this kind of money. Like it's insane.
It's surreal because like I said, like last year, when I was a W-2 employee, the last time I was a W-2 employee, for a full year, I think I made $11,000 in the entire year.
Wow.
And I made
she made 10.
I made $10,000 and I worked at the old folks home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that, going from that to like making that in a month, like that has been amazing for us. And like we see it every day. Like the reason I think it keeps hitting us is because like now like I don't have to worry about like, you know, going to eat or like being able to pay rent or any of that. Like I'm actually able to save up money and like even look into buying a property that like is obviously going to be a huge asset for us in the future. And so being able to do that at this age, like it's been very, very surreal.
Yeah.
And just being able to like have the money so we can actually plan out our future. Like that's what I'm grateful for because, you know, growing up, like, you know, my family, we were never rich, right? We, you know, we basically lived like paycheck to paycheck, right? And there was like 7 kids in the house. So there was a lot of us.
Wow.
But so I was used to like that kind of lifestyle, you know, working day to day, working like 12-hour shifts, you know, paying rent, things like that. So coming to this job, it's just been a blessing, honestly, because not having to worry, like she said, about like worrying about, oh, if we're hungry out in the field, like stopping and grab something to eat, like whether or not we have money for that, like is great. Like I don't even have to worry about that. I can just, if I'm hungry, I can just go get something to eat, you know?
That's so crazy that something that small,
right?
Yeah.
has such an impact on you.
Or not only that, but I feel like with like the money that we have like now, we've also gotten the opportunity to like take care of like our families because like I have been able to take like my family to eat for Father's Day, for my brother's birthday, for Mother's Day, like things like that where like, you know, at first like that was something that like we could only do like every so often, you know, and not only that, but also like with Choice, like we've been able to help other people go through the program as well, like pay tuition, like because we know like what impact it had on us, we're able to help other people with that and not have to worry like, oh, you know, we're not going to be able to like, you know, pay for this or pay for that. Like it's just like it's something that we get to do.
So what do your parents feel about what you're doing? Let me ask you this. So first question, do they know how much money you make? Number one.
So I've told my parents, because I remember in training class, you were like, oh, if you go home to your parents and you say that you're going to make this much, they're not going to believe you, right? Look at you like you're dumb. So I was like, okay.
Totally,
I was
right?
like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I want to try this out. And we were still living with my parents, and so I walked up to my mom and my stepdad, Stefan, and I was just like, well, I'm projected to make this much at this job. And I just looked at them, and they were like, they just laughed. They just laughed. They were like, okay, I mean, that's a great goal. They were like, you know, like,
right?
And I was just like, no, like, it's going to happen. And now that I come home, or not come home, but, like, I go to visit them, and they ask me, you know, how the job's going, this and that, and I tell them, and they're like, wow, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're doing so well for yourself.
Nice.
But they're always like, you know, just be careful, things like that. They're always like that. But
my mom was like, I told you, because she, so when I was in high school, like, I was very good
Your
with,
mom's taking the credit.
No, yeah, so
you.
She used to work for One Solar. She used to, like.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
She knew, like, how much money there was in, like, the solar business and in, like, you know, being paid off of commission versus hourly. And when I was in high school, she tried to get me to, like, work for, you know, her boss. And I was, like, at the time, I was still, like, pretty, like, young. And I was, like, super anxious. So I was like, no, the fuck? I'm not going to, like, door knock. And, like, later on, when we found the job, I don't think I told them right away that I worked here or how much we were making. But later on down the line, I remember that I brought it up, and she was like, "Oh," she's like, "that's what I used to work for." And I was like, shit. And she was like, "See, I told you." She was like, "You should have listened to me before." And I was like, "Yeah." So she takes the credit for that.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So parents are proud of you. Mm-hmm. What do your friends think? I mean, do your friends see the change in your lifestyle?
100%.
They do. I think that they're just kind of shocked, I would say, about how much money we make. But then again, they don't really think too much of it.
Do they notice? Because I know a lot of times we talk about the amount of money we make, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also the growth, too, the human growth. Mm-hmm. I think that what I see people come through the door that start to work here, and a year later, not only have they made great money, but they're different humans. Mm-hmm. Like, they're different people. Mm-hmm. They look at things differently. They look at what their capabilities are differently. I just see different. Amari's a different person. Mm-hmm. Yes. You two are different people. Like, I just said Malachi, for Pete's sakes. Are you kidding me? Malachi's a different dude.
Complete 360.
Yeah. So I just think it's awesome, and I love to see it, and I love to be a part of it. So
it's funny now because they'll like be like I used to be the kind of person that I didn't have my license, I didn't have a car, I like rarely ever had money, and like I used to be asking people for rides all the time, and now it's like the opposite way, and I'm just like, yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah, it feels good to have that level of independence.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, so question for you guys. If you could say one thing to somebody who's thinking about coming to work here, what would it be?
You've got nothing to lose. Like, come in, do the training.
But why do you say that? When you make a statement like you've got nothing to lose, I think a lot of people walk through the door and there's commission that they do have something to lose.
Well, yeah, but
like they do. Like, hey, if I take this commission job and I'm unsuccessful, like I could lose my apartment, I could lose my car, right? So there's anxiety there. So I think there is something to lose.
Well, yeah.
What would you say to that person? Because that's the person that's doesn't have the safety net of living with mom, you know? Mm-hmm. What would you say to that person?
Well, I mean, just given the fact that we try to make our team like as family-oriented, as team-oriented as possible, and how we're here to support each other no matter what, whether it's personal or whether it's like work-wise, right? We're always here for each other. We're always doing these trainings. We're always, keeping in contact. I would just say, like, come and do this training because you have that possibility to be as successful as we are, right? Because we will give you that training. We will be there for you as long as you're working, right? We will put that time and effort into you to guarantee that you will see that success. You will get there, right? So I feel like, at least with us, we can act as their safety net. If they are in that kind of scarcity mindset, we can be there to support them. So we can reassure them, like, hey, we know what we're doing. This training works. We've proven it multiple times over and over again. We've proven it multiple times. Like, you've got nothing to worry about. We will help you through this as long as you're willing to work, right?
And what does work mean? When somebody out there hears, as long as you're willing to work, what is work? Because I think work for us is different than work for other people.
Okay, so
am I off on that one, Genesis?
So with working, just like we have to see that effort, that you really want to be here, that you really are trying to get better and to improve, and you're constantly like, you're asking for support. You're not just like hiding in the background, not, talking to people, not branching out. As long as you're open, open to feedback to us, trying to see what's not working. Right, so we can, improve it and make it work.
Yeah,
not absolutely. Only that, but also I think that like it's very easy to be successful in this job. Like, honestly, like I think it is. It's really
then why do so many people drop off?
Because I think that they're not, like, confident in the fact that, like, you know, they are going to succeed. Like, this whole thing, like, the biggest learning that I've had throughout the past year is that it's all a numbers game. It's all the effort that you put into it. That's what you're going to get out. And for a lot of people, I think that because at the beginning it takes you some time to actually learn what you're doing, to actually learn what the process is and how to properly, like, you know, run a route or knock doors or do all of that. Like, not a lot of people are confident in themselves, in the fact that they can actually go out and do it. And so they're afraid to like, go and try it out, you know? And so not only that, but, yeah, like what she mentioned, you know, some people, like, live in that, like, scarcity mindset. And, like, we completely understand, like, taking this job was a risk for us because we weren't going to have a paycheck until we, like, created it here.
Yeah.
And, when we started, like, our biggest focus was just getting those opens. And, like, after that, like, we were able to have that safety net that we wanted. So now whatever money that we created or whatever, you know, business that we created in the future, you know, we didn't necessarily have to use it for rent or for, like, you know, basic necessities that, like, everybody needs. We were actually able to, like, plan our future, like she said, and it opened up a lot more possibilities for us. But I think that people have to be open to the idea that you're not going to be successful first. Like, it's going to be a learning process.
Right.
But as long as you stick with it and, yeah, ask for support, like, it really is all, like, a numbers game. There's going to be people that you run into that just want solar, that you don't even need to convince,
right,
or, like, educate on it because they already know it. They're just looking for that person to show up at their door. And you could be that person, but you have to be working in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. I think both of you have given great advice for somebody who's thinking about coming to work here. So I have one last question for you. Why Vir? Why here? There are tons of other solar companies out there. Some pay more. Like, why are you choosing to be here?
Because of the environment, honestly, 100%. Even, like, on day one walking into the training, like, it was never like, I'm training you to be a salesperson. Actually, it was the opposite. You were like, you're not there to be a salesperson. You're not there to sell them anything. And it was more focused on, like, having a conversation with people and actually educating them and, you know, making a friend versus, you know, hey, I'm just here to, you know, sell you something. Not only that, but, like, the environment of, like, our office because, like, yeah, what Shyanne mentioned, like, it is very family-oriented. It is very, like, supportive, and, like, everybody here wants to see you win. And, like, really the only person that can stop yourself from winning here is yourself. And, like, surrounding yourself with, like, people that have the same mindset, that want to succeed and want to create something bigger than just, like, living paycheck to paycheck or just a livable wage, you know, that's, you know, being surrounded by that, it definitely changes how you see not just your work environment, but also, like, your day-to-day life and, like, the people that you surround yourself with at home. Like, it completely shifts all of that to be something bigger than you thought that it could be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. What about you?
You want to repeat the question?
Why Vir? Why Vir?
So mainly the same reason as she said, because once we, like, the very first day, right, it never felt like we were coming in for, like, a job interview or a job training. It was, we were just sitting down, like she said, like, having a conversation. Like, it was all about building a connection with who you're speaking with and being present in that moment to see if what you're there to do could benefit them, right? Because, like you always taught us, to never look at a customer like a dollar sign, right? You're just there to see if they could qualify to take advantage of this program and save money off their power bill, right? So it's just really, like, how do I put it? It's just really, like,
it's refreshing,
authentic, and blunt. So that's what I really like, right? I don't like, you know, liars or lying, things like that. So the fact that this job was very, like, wrapped around being honest, open, being very blunt with your customers. Like, if they ask, like, oh, like, yeah, this is like a, financial application. Yeah, it is. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you it's not, just so you could possibly, sign. It's all about being, like, authentic and truthful.
Absolutely.
And I loved, like, the morals that the training was wrapped around, along with, the family-oriented, environment. Because all that support, like, in the situation that we were coming from when we first entered this job, we really needed that support. Like, I didn't know it at the beginning, but coming in and seeing, like, Amari and Jackson and Malachi and everyone who's been working here for a while, right? And them just supporting us 100%, and you guys supporting us 100% and constantly motivating us, that really, like, pushed us to see, like, what we could create and what we were capable of.
I love it. Well, thanks. I'm definitely excited to see what you guys create. I'm excited to see you hit that 200. So maybe we do our next podcast with you guys when you hit that 200 number.
Definitely.
And we can celebrate. A bottle of champagne on the table.
Yeah.
One of the things you said, it's so funny that, to hear that from somebody brings me back to the day I learned it. You had said, you don't look at a customer as a dollar sign. Mm-hmm. That's always been my thought process, and it's a small minority of salespeople out there who think in that term. But my mentor is a gentleman by the name of Jerry Anderson. And Jerry Anderson mentored me for a short period of time. I've known him my whole life since I was, I think 2 years old. But mentored me for a short period of time. Very successful business person, very spiritual person, and hard worker like you'd never seen before. But he had told me, he said that when he owned his first company in Stockton, California, that he dealt with advertising. And he said that, it was a magazine style, right? So he would have to sell pages of the magazine to advertisers, right? And he said that he didn't look at it, I need to sell them a page in the magazine. His thought was, I need to create results from the page they buy in the magazine. So his goal was to not just sell a page. His goal was to produce results from that page. And he would increase his distribution of the magazines, getting it into more people's hands. Then he would go into the business that was advertising, and he would train their salespeople on how to convert the phone calls that came in from the ad. So he would go in and sit and work with salespeople. Okay, when a call comes in from my magazine, here's how you convert it into dollars for your business. Like, he was so involved in that and focused on the customer having success that if the customer won, he won. And the customer has to win in solar. So we've got to make sure that we get to win too, right? But we also got to make sure that customer wins. Because if the customer doesn't win, then all we are is shit. So that's why we make sure that we do all those extra things with light bulbs and thermostats and all that. Like, we make sure the customer wins. So, but I owe that to Jerry Anderson. That's the guy who taught me customer gets to win. And that's if your focus is on the customer winning, you end up winning just by it happening. Mm-hmm. So I love it. Anyway, that was great that you said that, because it just flashed back Jerry mentoring me in that part.
Yeah.
So, all right. Listen, I love you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming in and talking with me. 200, we're sitting at this table and having champagne. Deal?
Yes. Deal.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you too, Thad.
Thanks for joining.